Welcome back. I wanted to start this video off with a disclaimer. This video is going to be longer than usual because it's designed to provide real transformation. This isn't going to be a quick fix. What you're about to hear is one of the deepest shifts in my entire program. And if you're someone who processes information quickly, feel free to speed up the video. You can go 1.5, 2 times faster to go through this content. But in areas that are especially important, take your time, slow it down to fully absorb what's being shared. Because trust me, this shift is by far the most impactful and important part of the entire journey. And when you fully understand this, it creates an instant awareness and success will naturally follow. This shift is all about your being, psychology. Research shows that mastering your being increases happiness by 50%. And neuroscientists have found that when people embody this shift, their neural pathways rewire, leading to lasting positive or negative changes. Have you ever had someone tell you that you don't seem like yourself today? Because I know some days you're in the zone, radiating confidence, and then boom, something triggers you. Insecurities take over. Everything feels off. You're not alone. This happens to everyone. But once you recognize this shift, you'll see it everywhere. How people react to you, how you show up in your business, and even how you show up in your relationships. Now, let's unveil the third shift. The shift is shift your being. In the first month of my coaching program, I was introduced to this concept, and it really did change everything. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. And once you name it, everything in your life will start making sense. But here's the crazy part. Most people go their entire lives never realizing what's actually running the show. They think they're in control, but in reality, it's who they're being that controls their life. You might be thinking, what is being? Your being is your internal state, your energy, mindset, and presence. It's not just what you do, it's how you show up in the world. When you're in a powerful state of being, everything flows effortlessly. People feel it. Opportunities open up and success comes naturally. But when you're operating from fear or doubt, everything feels like an uphill battle. Now, I want you to imagine 2 dragons inside of you, both fighting for control. The first dragon is your essence, your highest and best self. This is when you're confident, powerful, and taking action towards goals. The second dragon is your survival mechanism, your lower self, driven by fear, ego, and past traumas. This is what holds you back with doubt, procrastination, and excuses. These dragons exist whether you see them or not. But the one you operate from determines your reality and how you act and your behavior. Have you ever heard of the phrase, name it to tame it? This doctor, Daniel Siegel, he's a leading neuroscientist, and he found that labeling emotions helps you regulate and control them. Instead of being controlled by them, the same applies here. When you name your essence and survival mechanism, you gain power over them. Without this awareness, you'll live on autopilot, reacting instead of consciously choosing which dragon you want to be at any time. This isn't just a feel-good exercise. It's very difficult to, but provides real transformation. It's about uncovering the patterns that have shaped your life and finally stepping into the person you need to be to create the life you truly want. I want to start with sharing my own survival labels. Not just to tell you my story, but so you can see if any of it resonates with you. Maybe you'll recognize parts of yourself in them. Maybe it will help you put words to something you felt but never really fully understood. And after this intense exercise with my coach, one that forced me to confront truths I had avoided, I was handed my survival words a week later. And what I discovered, it changed everything. My first survival mechanism name was the ticking time bomb. The moment my coach told me this was my survival mechanism, I knew with 100% certainty this is how I would be and how I act. If you remember my story, I used to be a pretty big bully in high school, constantly getting into fights, and that's how I would let my anger out, was through fighting and yelling. And once I realized that's not how to handle it, I turned into a nice guy. I became a people pleaser, always trying to keep the peace. For most of my life, I hated conflict. I avoided confrontation at all costs, just trying to be the nice guy. But here's the thing. Anytime someone upset me, disrespected me, or crossed a boundary, I would say nothing. Instead of standing up for myself, I bottled it up inside. I pushed it down. I convinced myself that being easygoing and the bigger person was the right thing to do. But what I didn't realize was that I wasn't addressing the frustration, disappointment, or resentment building up inside of me. It wasn't going anywhere. It was just stacking layer by layer, like a ticking time bomb. And then boom, I'd explode. Not because of that one small thing, but because of everything I had suppressed before. It was the years of silent suffering, the unspoken boundaries, the times I had let things slide, the emotions I buried. This survival mechanism is dangerous because when you don't express what you're feeling, it doesn't disappear. It festers inside of you until it forces its way out in the worst possible way. And once I had a label for this pattern, it was like a light bulb turned on. And then I realized I had a choice. I could keep bottling things up and blow up on people, or I could start dealing with things in real time. I could speak up in the moment, set boundaries, allow myself to feel and express emotions before they reached my breaking point. Now, my second survival mechanism, the unlovable tryhard. This one hit me the hardest when I heard it. It was a label I had been avoiding for years. And when finally became aware of it, it exposed a truth I wasn't ready to face. As my teenage years faded into my 20s, I carried with me a silent, unspoken pain. I never shared it with anyone. Not with my friends, not with my family. The pain of abandonment ran deeper than I could ever express. Between the age of 16 and 19, my sister left me, my dad left me, and my mom left me. Each of them had a reason to leave, and I forgive them now. But because of that, I formed a belief deep within me that people, love, commitment was just going to be another way I could get hurt. So I built up walls. I didn't want to face the vulnerability of loving and being loved because it always felt like I was setting myself up for a loss. Unconsciously, I labeled myself as unlovable. No matter how much I succeeded in other areas of my life, I couldn't seem to make genuine, lasting connections. Deep relationships always felt like they were just out of reach. I couldn't keep a romantic relationships. I would always be sabotaging it just before I could get too close. I couldn't retain a solid sales team. I ran a top team and I was a top manager in the company, but every year it felt like I was having to start from scratch. And no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't build that consistent bond with my team. I found myself stuck in a painful cycle of connection, disconnection, and isolation. At some point, I started to believe that I was the problem, that I was unlovable. I carried this belief with me, and without even realizing it, I began to act in ways that only reinforced the belief. I withdrew. I avoided intimacy. I kept others at arm's length. And every time I pushed someone away or allowed a relationship to fall apart, it just confirmed my worst fear. I had become this pattern that I no longer questioned it. I simply accepted it as the truth. The more I believed I was unlovable, the more I saw evidence of it in my life. And the worst part, I was the one keeping myself trapped in that cycle, clinging to the label I had put on myself as though it were the only truth I could ever know. It wasn't until I took a hard look at myself that I realized the truth. The real issues wasn't that I wasn't unlovable. It was that I was scared to love, scared to let others love me because of the pain I carried from my past, and that fear, that label had just been controlling how I was being in my life in ways that I couldn't see. Then the try hard pattern. I was still trying to build relationships. I was still trying to be in love. I was still trying to grow my business. I never gave up on this. And it was even harder to see because I had convinced myself that I had already knew the truth about trying. I had preached to my sales teams, do or do not, there is no try, in the wise words of Yoda. But here's the thing. I had never applied that mindset to my personal life or business growth. I kept hearing the word try creeping in. When I'm talking to people, I'm trying to build a relationship. I'm trying to build a team. I'm trying to be a coach. I'm trying the best that I can. And then, one day it hit me. What if I'm really a tryhard? What if I'm still trying to prove myself? What if I'm clinging to an old identity that no longer serves me? And then it clicked. I had been holding on to a self-protection mechanism. The tryhard was a label I had attached to myself because at certain points in my life, I felt like I had to constantly prove my worth. And then I realized this pattern came from a deep-rooted fear of failure, the need for external validation, and the pressure of meeting expectations. My subconscious saw trying as a form of safety because as long as I was trying, I was putting in effort, I was showing up, I was proving I belonged. And then I realized I didn't need to try anymore. I could just be. And in that moment, everything shifted. And now the last survival mechanism, the heartbroken hermit. This mechanism was born out of years of feeling unlovable, growing up with a broken family in a broken home. This fear seeped into my personal life and business, betrayals, failed romantic relationships, and keeping that solid team. Every connection I tried to build ended up in disappointment, making me feel more isolated and heartbroken. When the survival mechanism kicks in, it's like everything from my past comes rushing back. And instead of facing it, I withdraw like the hermit. I'll sit by myself rather than with a group. I'll go home alone instead of joining the team or my friends. When I feel down or depressed, I isolate myself, avoiding anyone who could lift me up. It's like I'm punishing myself by staying alone in my pain. And the moment I created awareness and got a name for this pattern, it clicked again. I knew when I was falling into the trap of being the heartbroken hermit. It actually took me a while, but eventually I learned that I could and still can make a choice. Instead of hiding, I could choose to surround myself with people who genuinely care about me and lean into connection. That awareness was the key. It gave me the power to break the cycle and choose my essence over my survival mechanism. But then after that weekend of learning this, I returned home and I started noticing something within me showing up, my dragon. But it wasn't my essence I saw. It was the survival mechanism. And let me tell you, I hated it. I wasn't proud of it. And I didn't want to be my survival mechanism anymore. So during my next coaching call, I told my coach, I hate it. I see it where it shows up everywhere in my life now. I just want to be my essence. And then my coach helped me see something that I had been blind to. Both of these dragons, the one representing my essence and the one tied to my survival mechanism, are living inside of me because they are me. They're constantly battling for control over how I show up in my life. And as much as I wanted to believe my essence should always be leading up front, I had to face the truth. This is the reality I'm living with. And then the breakthrough happened. I realized that since I am both my survival mechanism and my essence, trying to ignore my survival side was like trying to hold a beach ball underwater. I could suppress it for a long time, but eventually your arms are gonna get weak, your muscles are gonna give up, and it would pop right back up in my face. And that's when it clicked. Instead of fighting my survival mechanism, I just needed to acknowledge it, own it, and then choose my essence instead. Because the moment I recognized my survival mechanism patterns for what they were, I took back control and I could then choose to be my essence instead. It's basically like this. Think of the yin and yang, two opposing forces that need to coexist. Your survival mechanism is the yin, and your essence is the yang, are both integrated parts of who you are. Each of it has a place, but your job is to ensure that your essence, your higher self, does take the lead. Now, it's not about wanting to eliminate or fight against the parts of you that feel reactive or broken. The goal isn't to deny your survival mechanism. It's about becoming aware of both sides. With that awareness, you can then choose who you want to be, even in the moments when your survival mechanism is trying to take over. When you can lead from a place of awareness, you're no longer controlled by your reactions. Then you can make conscious choices that align with your true self. And after diving deep into my work and confronting my survival mechanism, it finally came time to be face to face with something even more powerful, my essence. And when I received these essence words, I didn't just hear them, I felt them deep within me. My first essence word is radiance. If you truly know me, you'd see that's my natural state. I'm enthusiastic, loud, excited, shining bright. I'm a beacon of light for those around me, guiding and mentoring and coaching them towards their goals and dreams. I was meant to radiate, to light up the world, to lead, to inspire. That is who I am at my core. My second essence is love. For years, I let my fears, doubts, and pain drive me, convincing myself I was unlovable. But that was never the truth. Love isn't something I have to chase or prove I'm worthy of. It's who I am. In every moment, In every interaction, when I'm being love, I pour into the world, whether I'm leading or serving or just being present. I no longer seek love outside of myself because I am love. And it flows freely in everything I do. And it's how I choose to be and show up every day in my life now. My third word, joy. When I'm being joy, I'm the guy with a big smile, walking into a room and spreading laughter. I see the positive in everything, bringing lightness to the darkest days. My joy isn't something I feel. It's something others feel too. It's infectious, it spreads, lighting everyone up I connect with. And my fourth word, power. This is not the power that controls or dominates. This is the kind of power that is unshakable, unbreakable. When I'm being power, I stand firm. I own my voice. I own my presence. I own my ability to transform lives, starting with my own. Power is what drives me to create, to grow, to stay resilient, and to commit. Whether it's my business, my relationships, or my personal growth. And my last essence word, majesty. This one, when I heard, I didn't really understand it. This one was hard to accept, but now I fully embrace it. When I step into being majesty, I become a leader, a visionary. I am the creator of something bigger than myself, someone others look to for inspiration. For so long, I doubted whether I was capable of building a movement, a legacy, or inspiring transformation in others. But when I step into my essence, I know that without a doubt, I was born to do this. This is my calling. This is my strength. Majesty is grace under pressure, strength in stillness, and confidence in knowing exactly who I am. When I'm being majestic, I walk with a posture of someone who knows their worth, who is loved, and who is loyal to their purpose. These words, radiance, love, joy, power, and majesty, these are not just ideas. These are the truth of who I've always been. And when I choose to be them, I am no longer hiding. I am no longer trying. I am no longer unlovable. I'm fully embracing my essence. That's who I was meant to be. And this is the shift I want for you. This is the breakthrough I want you to have in your own life. Because when you do start living in your essence, accomplishing your goals, getting ahead just becomes so much easier. And that's exactly why it'll make you accomplish your goals 2 times faster. If you don't know who your higher self is, or your lower self, and if you haven't labeled it, how can you step into it? And if you don't know what's sabotaging you, how can you stop it? This is exactly why I created my program, to help you identify your core essence and survival mechanism, so you can finally break free. If you're ready to unlock your essence and to start showing up as your higher self every single day, then click the link below. In this call, we'll dive into where you are now, what's holding you back, and how this program will help you break free. If you're serious about transformation, this is your moment. Let's make it happen.